I'm on camera. You got this. Yeah, there you go. Good job. We got it. Welcome in, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Beards of Light podcast. My name is Cooler Monster Gaming, and as always, I'm joined by the greatest host of all time, Gibbles Destruct.
Hey.
Today, we have an action-packed episode for you guys, talking about a lot of the video game news you guys want to hear about. But to start, we're going to go back to our roots. We're going to talk about some Final Fantasy stuff. Let's change screens, and we can talk about some Final Fantasy stuff, like Valentine's Day.
Yeah, Valentine's Day.
Have a loved one that plays Final Fantasy 14? Spend it with them on Valentine's Day. No, in all seriousness, starting on Wednesday, we have the Valentine's Day event. It has a love seat. Get it? Pun? Love seat? It's a heart seat. It's not really a love seat. It would have been cooler if it was a love seat, because then it would have been a double pun.
The mount is, technically, from previous ones.
It's true. It's true. But I think this is going to be the emote that that coincides or is replaced by Dote. Is this new love heart emote. I'm excited for it. It's going to be super fun. But yeah, so this is the Valentine's Day event. It goes from the 7th through the 21st. If you have a spouse or a loved one that has played Final Fantasy in the past and no longer, This also coincides with the login event. If you've had a character who has been out for more than 30 days, you can have 4 free days. Play with them on Valentine's Day. That's a cool date, right?
Can't wait to be doing all the love hearts towards Lim Lane.
That's right. That's right. In other Final Fantasy news,
Oh yeah. Well, let me say real quick that there is a returners free login campaign right now. You get 4 free days. It's for this whole month. 4 days starting on the day you redeem it. So make sure you redeem it on the day you want to play. First, if you are if that's one thing you're going to be doing, and then also we're talking about yeah, we're on to the Xbox, right?
Yeah, the beta.
Yeah. So Final Fantasy 14 on the Xbox is the beta is going live. I don't actually have that pulled up right now, apparently. Give me 1 second.
So signups begin, I think, soon, right? They're already up.
Yeah.
And then it's the 21st. Wednesday the 21st is the first day of the beta.
Yeah. So if you're thinking about playing Final Fantasy and haven't gotten into it yet, but want to play it on the Xbox, how to participate is on the Lodestone. You can just type in Final Fantasy Xbox beta, and it's gonna be the first thing. It's available on the Xbox Series X and S. It's scheduled to begin on February 21st, so actually the last day of the Returners campaign. The open beta test,
that was like planned, so they're like, no returners can come back in beta Xbox.
Open beta test will only be available to new players who will be playing Final Fantasy 14 for the first time. So no returners trying to do the beta. That's interesting. Now that you think they'd want to like beta like some of the later game portions a little bit too. Take this opportunity to invite your Xbox owning friends. It's very true. Get those golden chocobo feathers. So what you need to do as a 14 player online multiplayer game, you need to go to certain privacy settings inside your Xbox. You need to go to the settings, account privacy, and online safety. Xbox, there's a lot of like setting buttons. Xbox privacy, view details and customize, communication and multiplayer, and then the following settings must be turned on. You have to have join multiplayer games, cross network play. Others can communicate with voice, text, or invites, and can communicate outside Xbox with voice and text. I feel like most people will probably have all those set to allow anyways. Most of the time, maybe not the like communicate set to everybody. Maybe you had those turned off so you wouldn't have 12-year-olds yelling at you while you're playing COD.
It does seem like one of those things that like you would expect that like if you're playing Call of Duty or something like that where they require the multiplayer settings that stuff gets turned on. I do hope that with this they put some kind of like if the users forget to do this, that they have like an initial download. When you go to install, it's like, hey, make sure you do these things, and you just like it asks you to walk through stuff. It's kind of like when you put an app on a phone where it's like, hey, I need these permissions. Like, hey, I'm not able to do this. But this is just for the free trial stuff. So
yes,
it's only for free trial.
Besides settings need to be set to allow, all you really need to do is go to the options menu, select and download Final Fantasy 14 free trial from the store. And you should be entered into the you'll enter the game. There'll be a couple instructions you can do, and then you'll be in to the free trial of the beta. You are getting this is why they I think they didn't want they only wanted new players to do it, because you are set into it. It's essentially just a free trial. You're set into the limitations of the free trial, so that's why. So if you don't know the free trial, there's always the meme copy pasta that you have. You can play all the way up until Stormblood, which is the technically the third expansion, the second expansion for like what's actually there. Base game, 2 expansions, half the game. You can play it all for free, and you just can't do. There's a couple limitations. You can't join a guild, and you can't do ultimate raids. But other than that, the whole rest of the game is your oyster. Players who already have the free trial version for a different platform will be unable to participate in the open beta test. So, and then we are planning to launch. There's a transfer. Game data will be transferred, and you will not need to re-download the game to play. I'm assuming that's after beta. So any progress you make during the beta test will be transferred into the full release of the game as well. So that's a really good.
And I think that's more of like the settings and stuff that you change. That all that stuff will swap over. Because they are saying that the moment that the beta is over, at the bottom of the article is that the full version will be available. So the beta moves directly in.
Yeah,
I'm saying gonna guess that probably they're gonna do the end of the beta in line with a patch, like a 6.55 or 6.57 or something like that.
And also, but also any progress, any character progress you make is maintained. So when the game transfers from the free trial into the full game, you any amount of playing you're not gonna have to make a new character and go back through what you already played during the beta.
That's true for all versions of the free trial, by the way. Just as like for those that are like, hey, if I do this on a different console, it's gonna be an issue. I think the biggest thing here, right, is like, so it says like the free trial is not going to require an Xbox Game Pass Core or Unlimited, but the full version, when it goes full version, it will require a subscription in order to play. So you have to pay for your Xbox subscription on top of your Final Fantasy subscription, which, like, on face value is kind of shitty, right? Like, PlayStation made a carve out of PlayStation Plus not being required for Final Fantasy in any form, whether you're a paid player or not. On face value, it's really shitty. The truth of the matter is, like, how many players really are not going to have some version of Xbox Game Pass on their Xbox to play any online games? So it's like, yeah, it sucks for those who do. It's a very small majority, it's a very small minority of people who don't have Xbox Game Pass but want to play Final Fantasy that would pay for the subscription for the game, but now they have to pay a double subscription. But for the majority of those players, they're already there. They've already got that account.
Yeah, and I mean, like, realistically, I feel like the PlayStation carve out probably actually came from. I think the game it's mostly because it was grandfathered into it from when it was on PlayStation 3.
I'm gonna guess
when PS3 didn't require it's the PlayStation Plus to play online. Only Xbox did.
Though I don't know many, and there aren't many subscription-based games on PlayStation. I don't believe that there are any other subscription-based games.
I mean, like, there's so like ESO, it's not a required subscription, but there is subscriptions, and there's even a whole like subscription management tab in the PlayStation on your.
Is that one require PlayStation Plus to do?
I believe ESO does require PlayStation Plus to play online, and then it has its own sub, but it's not required. Okay.
ESO sub's not required to play the game.
Oh yeah. No, I know. It's a buy the game, and then you can just play the game. But there are subscriptions tied to it. But I'm not sure if PlayStation sub is required to play it on PlayStation. Now all we need is a console WoW release, and we're all set.
No.
I mean, Xbox, Microsoft bought them.
Yeah, I guess.
WoW 2 Xbox release.
So as we had talked about, the good, the bad, the ugly. The good is that this beta test is happening, which is really good to get more players in, to get more people to play the game, which is always what you want. The bad is kind of like this requirement here. To make that stuff happen. So that's the bad. But then it's the Xbox, which is, it's the Xbox, so it's whatever. Yeah,
it is a really interesting thing. This entire thing is just an interesting experiment, I guess, essentially, because it's is Xbox going to drive any amount of players into Final Fantasy, especially at this stage, right? Anyone who was interested in playing Final Fantasy, do they already have some other place they're playing it? On a PC, on a PlayStation.
Yeah, when the console rolled over, did they get PlayStation 5 versus Xbox
Yeah.
because they wanted to play? I mean,
And
I
then
doubt it's like that, cut and dry. There's
Yeah.
obviously other factors when you buy a console, but like,
and then there's the other factor. What percentage of those players didn't already have Game Pass, right?
Right.
And so there's levels to this. I don't even want to necessarily call it like a full a release to increase the player base. I almost kind of just want to call it an experiment to see if this increases the player base, because it will 100%. It will increase the player base, but to what degree will it do that? I think that's the experiment.
All right. Real quick before we jump into our next major topic, State of Play was on the 31st. Big key takeaways. There's a lot of stuff that was in the State of Play. It was a pretty reasonable State of Play, but the big key takeaways, new announcements, big things that are coming. I have the Sonic X Shadows announcement for PlayStation. I believe it's coming to other consoles, but I don't have the research on that. I just have it from the State of Play. V Rising is coming to PS5, which is a pretty good top-down vampire game if you've never played. Super fun. I would recommend. Dave the Diver is coming to PS4, PS5. That's what I'm actually very excited about. That game looks so fun. And then Death Stranding 2 was announced. The main protagonist, or the main antagonist, excuse me, in 1 is not coming back. And for those who played 1, that's for obvious reasons. And then finally, Until Dawn, which was a good game back in its day, is being remastered for PS5 and also getting a PC release, which is really cool. That game was super fun as well. So if you haven't played that, it was a freebie a while ago. Please take the time to play that if you're into like sci-fi horror-y. It took off the very I can't remember if it's the same developer now. I don't think it is, but it's very it gives me
Telltale?
Not Telltale. It gives me like Heavy Rain vibes.
Oh,
the
yeah.
way that it interacts.
I don't think, because Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls are the same
Beyond
developer.
Two Souls are the same company. And
Yeah,
then,
but I don't think
they also do Detroit, and those developers
Yeah.
for those. This is a fun little fact. The developers from Quantic Dream that worked on those 3 games also worked on Fahrenheit Indigo Prophecies from way back in the PS2 era. That is the same developers. It is not the same publisher.
Now, so Dying Light, the remaster, there is more games that they have released. In fact, they just released one I want to say like 6 months ago or something like that, that follows the Chicago murder house, the murder hotel, as its base story. And now I don't remember what that one was called, but there's a whole like party, almost like a party box kind of thing that you can buy. They have like, I think it's like 4 different
anthology games, right?
Yeah, it's the same
developer of that one.
Yeah. Well, that's the first game for that anthology.
Yep.
It's the same story. It has the same narrator for that game as well. And the remaster, looking at it, it's not just one of those like, hey, we upped the pixel count, shove it out, right? Like Dark Souls remaster is I think the best like one to pick on for that. It actually has some I don't know, I'm not necessarily sure about quality of life, but it has actual full graphical update, a new shading, and new what's the term I'm looking for? Final Fantasy is doing the same thing.
Like more voxels or whatever.
Well, not shader, it's not reshade, but like they're the actual design of the characters are more detailed. I can't remember the actual term I'm looking for now.
I think it's more voxels, if I remember correctly. I think they're adding more voxels to the characters so that they can be blended in a specific way.
Yeah. Dark Souls Remastered, don't get me started. It is a good game. I played it. I only got one ending though, so
enjoy. Thank you for stopping by. All right, guys. The next big Xbox news, this is the big Xbox week, is there are rumors that the Xbox is talking about releasing some of its exclusives to PlayStation 5, which is big. This is big. So we're thinking the two off the top that I had seen were the new Indiana Jones game, which looks really good. If you haven't seen the trailer for that, please go look. It looks really, really good. It's first person style with like a third person style. And then the other one they were talking about is Starfield, and then there was rumors about the hi-fi game. That was the rhythm like RPG game that they came out with, where the guy was like part robot and he was like swinging around a guitar. I played that on Game Pass. That was really fun. If you liked rhythm type games, that one was super fun, and I recommend to play it. Maybe it'll come over PS5, and those that have PS5s will be able to play it. That'll be cool.
I'm also seeing something right here about potential Gears of War to PlayStation as well.
That would be really interesting. I don't know if this is a pivot because of the layoffs. If they're now just trying to scoop as much of the money as they possibly like. They have the IPs, they own them, they can just release them for whoever.
Phil Spencer has been talking about trying to create Game Pass as just not on Xbox, but as something on everything, on your TV, on PlayStation, on something else, right? They've been talking about making it a game store as the Xbox
software
brand.
Cohesion, I think, is the wording that he was using. So it's
like
everybody could play all pieces of software all the time.
Yeah, and they're trying to move it more into a game store, online game store versus a console name. I think they've been talking about not creating another console as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how PlayStation responds to that, to be honest.
Because this is in his same speech when. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, this is in the same. It was in the same speech when he came out and said we lost the console war. Is when he said they were gonna pivot.
Yeah, well, I mean, because obviously, like PS5 blew them out of the water, hands down. Mm-hmm. I think it'll be interesting to see how PlayStation responds to this. The thing that I think PlayStation lacks right now is allowing their subscription to move to like a mobile for the cloud gaming. Like that's the one piece that Xbox has on them right now, which is like I don't own an Xbox. Let me be very clear with that. I've never been an Xbox person. I had an Xbox 360 forever ago. Wasn't really into it. But there are games that I've really wanted to play from the Xbox catalog that I can play on their cloud console that I use my tablet for. So I just connect a controller. I'm using a PlayStation controller to play Xbox games. Let's be fair. I connect like a PS4 controller to my tablet, and then I do cloud gaming via the tablet. So it's like we're at a generation where it's like I don't need an Xbox to play Xbox games, and that's big. That's huge. That's a big deal.
On that note, a little bit. This is a little bit of a tangent, but have you seen the Apple VR headset and the things that they're doing with that?
Don't even get me started. That thing is such a disruption to society. It's not even funny.
Well, have you seen that people have
it's good or bad?
Well, people have been doing workarounds because it has access to the iPad store, so it can download the Steam app onto the VR headset, and then they're using that to launch games from Steam, and people are like playing like Pal World on it and stuff like that on its virtual desktop.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and like so it is a really cool thing, and like these naturally don't play on Apple OS, but people are doing some workarounds to get other games to play on it. And it'd be interesting, and they're also remoting into consoles, I believe, by using the same apps and using the Apple VR to do it. Because essentially, like, and the way it looks, and you can see screen caps and you can see videos on people doing this. They're just sitting in their like recliner in their living room, and like their entire living room itself is now just their TV. It's like they have a projector going through like half their room, and they're just reclined with a headset on.
Yeah, I remember doing this back when Samsung released their VR headset that attached to the phone. Like I got the bundle that was like you got the headset for free if you bought the phone with it. And I remember like very distinctly like being able to sit in a chair, pull up the Netflix app on my VR Samsung, and just like watch shows, or like being laying in bed, be able to look straight up and just there being this giant screen in front of me on my VR headset. It was pretty fantastic. So this is definitely, I think, something that we're definitely moving towards. VR is
Yeah.
definitely not going anywhere. This is more AR, just as like a just for clarity. This is
Oh,
more
yeah.
AR than it is VR.
Well, the same thing is like
there's a
we're not using AI. None
Right.
of the tools are AI. They're machine learning and large
Yeah.
language models. They're not actual AI. It's
Well,
the same
it's
thing.
augmented reality too. It's not virtual reality. So
Yeah.
like,
So that, yeah,
it's the difference between like the Oculus Rift is VR, it's full immersion, right? And this new thing from Apple is augmented reality. So you still get a pass through to be able to see what's going on in front of you. I think that's the strangest thing, right? People are just walking down the street with these things on with a battery pack in their pocket, and they look ridiculous, right? It's just this honking like $3,000 computer on their face. So I don't know. I'm not sure I'm ready for society to move to that kind of a mentality of like people being, socially acceptable to be watching something else while they're supposed to be engaging in social constructs of society. But I mean, to each their own.
I forgot it had like the fake eye things, like projection on the front of the
Yeah,
screen.
it projects eyes on the. It's got like a see-through screen that can project eyes on the other side, so that like people can
Yeah.
actually see like they're looking at your face. I'm just like, this is terrible. Like this is
Just
it's not
some
how
dude,
I wanted this to go down.
you're just your coworker sitting in the office chair, just like you start hearing some weird sounds coming from his headset. Like, hey, what are you doing? He just looks at you. You just see his eyes. I'm
Nothing.
working, bro. What are you doing?
What are you thinking? I think the funniest clip I've seen on TikTok was it was like hi, I'm the CEO of Apple, and we've just released our new headset, and it just cuts to a guy like pretending to have sex with nothing and just having sex in the air with the eyeglasses on. I'm just like, this is exactly what this is. This is it. We know exactly what this is gonna be. We already had full purview. Alrighty. We had our fun with that one. All right. Bart, if you want to take the next one, I'll swap to your video
Yeah,
and we
sure.
can play it as soon as you
So,
talk through stuffs.
I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of the new video game that released recently. It's kind of hit or miss. It has mixed reviews. Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Some people are really enjoying it, some people are not. That's for the gameplay and other reasons, but there's also other controversies going on with it a little bit. But one good thing that they've done, and I'm gonna mention the good before we go into like some of the little bit of controversy of it, is that if you don't know, this is the last video game voiced by Kevin Conroy. He finished his voice acting of it before his passing in 2022 due to cancer. And while he does have at least one other animated voice that he's voice acted for Batman that's going to be coming out soon-ish. This is going to be his last video game one. But at the end of it, they did they had this nice little why can't I think what the word is? Tribute. Yeah, tribute to him at the end of the credits.
Yeah, so we're gonna play this. I think we're good on that side of things. So we'll play this and then we'll talk about it.
This is Lois Lane. From all reports, it seems that Batman is gone. As Batman and as Bruce Wayne, everyone knew him. Everyone knew his voice. Always prepared, he left a communication with the Daily Planet in the event of... Well, it reads, "When I put on the cowl, it became a symbol. But I never stopped being Bruce Wayne, citizen of Gotham. Remember that we are all handed adversity in our lives. No one's journey is easy. It's how we handle that, how we help others, that makes us unique. That's what the Batman will always stand for. Metropolis will get through this. And Batman, goodbye. You will be missed, but never forgotten."
So if you don't know who Kevin Conroy actually is, if you've ever watched something animated with the Batman, most likely he voiced it. There have been others, but the most common voice actor for Batman, and I think the person with the most Batman titles under his belt was Kevin Conroy. Batman the animated series, Batman Beyond, he was Bruce Wayne. Not I can't remember the younger Batman in that.
He was the old crotchety.
He was old one. He was
all the games.
Yep,
Asylum.
Arkham Knight. Yep, the whole Arkham Knight series, and this game, the Suicide Squad actually takes place in the Arkham Knight universe. By the way, if you didn't know that, and so this was his last video game edition of it, and probably his second to last ever voice of the Batman. He did also know that the Batman was going to die in this game. If you don't know the story, I mean, like, it's in the title. They kill the Justice League.
Canonically, this is normal, right? Like, so for comic book readers, the Batman dying is like a pretty standard comic book thing.
I think he's only ever died like one other time. His Robins have died,
but like canonically for this particular, like, the Justice League goes bad or rogue. Like, this is the like scenario, right? He either, like, because in Unlimited, or not Unlimited, the Justice League, the series, he has moments where he's like, I know how to kill each of you. Like, he's talked about, like, I know how to kill each member of the Justice League. I keep that in my back pocket. And it was like part of the early part of that series where he was like considered to be untrustworthy. But like canonically, like, he knows how to kill the Justice League, and he keeps it in his back pocket as like if he dies, or like if he needs to, we'll take action against the Justice League. So this is pretty on spot for what DC has set up for him, from his storyline in certain comics. But like, yeah, definitely.
So the Tower of Babel story has been played out multiple different times. And the original edition is the Tower of Babel, where he has the contingency plans. Ra's al Ghul steals them. He modifies them and then goes after the Justice League. And then it's the Justice League being like, it's that animated scene where, like, Alfred, get the Batmobile. The Justice League's under attack. By who? By me. Scene. And yeah, and that whole does happen. This rendition, it's not major spoilers. They're getting brainwashed. All the Justice League getting brainwashed by Brainiac, I think, is who the main villain is. And then the Suicide Squad is sent to actually go kill them, and they do find Batman's one of the Bat caves, and they find his contingency plans and use them on the Justice League.
This game has gotten pretty mixed reviews from what I've seen.
Yeah. Very hit or miss.
It falls pretty par for the Suicide Squad series franchise. The movies have been kind of lackluster. People have been kind of meh on the movies, so this game kind of falls suit with what we would expect from a Suicide Squad lift. So I mean, not out of the realm of things.
Yeah. So there's the gameplay is seen as like is very some people like it, some people hate it. The way the story paces, some people like it, some people hate it. And the way like it has that weird quippy, like almost trying too hard humor that some people kind of like, some people hate. Right. So everything about the game in and of itself is some people like it, some people hate it. Now they did do the homage at the end. But one of the reasons why, besides just the game itself, why a lot of people are kind of upset about the game is how Batman ends. So this is going to be a little bit of spoilers, and just to get a little bit of like a backdrop on this. This is like quite a ways into the game. It's not he's not like the first one down or anything like that. But so they fight the Batman. The way the fight goes is he fear toxins the Suicide Squad. They have a wall boss fight, essentially, to use Final Fantasy terms. And then with him as fear toxin, and he's this like massive, like 50-foot tall like beast, right? And then the fear toxin wears off, and then he's on the floor in a puddle of his own blood. And it's like, how did he actually end up there? There was the fear toxin. This is all very confusing. And the Suicide Squad is completely without a scratch, which is also like you're doing a massive disservice to Batman in that moment, right?
He's all
and
money,
then-
no power.
well, it's like there's no scene of like them actually like fighting him at all. It's just like they have fear toxin. They're shooting at presumably the ceiling because they're shooting up at like where his face is, like the 40-foot tall monster face is, and then he's on the floor. But then they take him somewhere where he's like still alive, but he's like half dead, so he can like barely move, and he's just like kind of like slumping everywhere and like not. They're essentially acting like he's paralyzed at this point, and he has some weird dumb lines that people really don't like towards the end. And then at the very end, after they interrogate him for a little bit, they set him down on a park bench. They essentially tell him like insult him because it's the Suicide Squad, right? It's par for the course for the characters.
Yeah.
And then Harley Quinn just pulls out a pistol and executes him on a park bench. And then it's over. It's very unceremonious. It's very anticlimactic. It's very like, this was the end of Batman. This was the final hurrah of especially the Arkham Knight Batman, who was like this, like, who did all these things in one night. It was this crazy, strong Batman. That this was his end, and on top of that, to be the final video game voicing of Kevin Conroy as well. It was, a lot of people feel disrespected towards.
I just want to like an 8 Crazy Nights crossover on Batman, because like everything he does is always in one night. Like the game, like he takes down Arkham Asylum one night. He takes down. It's like, oh man, that
Arkham Knight's a bit crazy with that kind of stuff.
But yeah, I mean, it's tough. Like, this is a great segue, by the way. This is like pretty fantastic, honestly. It's very indicative of like other franchises, and I know you're gonna know where I'm going with this, where the character kind of unceremoniously is killed for no reason, and people are very upset about it. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard to see like a very iconic character and something that people really enjoy, kind of being thrown to the side like a rag doll with really no like, or what feels like no remorse for that character, right? It's just it's you know, people have a lot of respect for Kevin and what he did for the community as a whole, for the comic books and for voice acting and whatnot, and to kind of treat his last kind of major or semi-major role as one of his iconic characters this way kind of feels like a disservice, for sure.
Yeah.
But that leads us into a great segue of the way we killed Joel. I mean, just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, we're actually going to talk about Neil Druckmann announced this week that he has plans for the 3rd iteration of the Last of Us series. These are literally just plans in his brain. He has not put these on paper. He doesn't have a story yet. He has ideas. This is crazy to me. Like, it's been how long since 2 came out? I think we're at a point where like, he should have had more. In my opinion, he should have had more. But I'm interested to see where this is going, to be fair. Let me pitch this guy up here for you. For those who have not seen gameplay of The Great Last of Us. Yeah, this is honestly so crazy to me. I'm interested to see where this goes. For those who don't know, this is probably, of the 2 games, my favorite game. This is not Bard's favorite game of the 2. And between the two of us, I'm the only one who's fully completed the second game, which isn't a big deal. Like for people who it wasn't, wasn't their flavor, that's fine. I thought the story was great. I thought the emotion that the story in 2 brought was great. I'm interested to see whether we continue with Ellie in 3 or if we move to Abby and Lev. I would be interested to see kind of a redemption arc for her in 3 of like realizing that she's getting over the revenge of part 2 and kind of moving into something like where she's helping people more, but still facing some kind of adversity, or for those who are currently in the remaster, since it did just come out, this is full spoilers, so if you have not heard, please either mute for a few minutes or not. So Joel dies. Obviously, that was the connection between Batman dying and Joel dying. Troy Baker is a fantastic voice actor, plays this role very well.
Spoilers, Joel dies.
So spoily. And so she's forced to go to Seattle, or she chooses to go to Seattle to revenge against Joel's death. They find out that the people are from Seattle, part of the Western Liberation Front, or the WLF as they're often called in the game. So the first half of the game is you play as Ellie, and then the second half of the game you play as the person who killed Joel, Abby, which is where a lot of people got a disconnect, and were unable or unwanting to play the game further. After you play through Abby's story, you go through a small Santa Fe cutout, where Abby and Lev go to Santa Fe, and they go to a place where they think is going to be like where other Fireflies are. It ends up not. Whoop, that was not a loop. No, we don't need this in our stream. Loop. And at that point, Ellie goes and tries to find them, and finds that they've been kind of turned into slaves for the better part of a couple weeks, a couple months. And she tries to dish out her revenge. She does not get their revenge. She ends up not killing Abby in the very end, and Abby and Lev go off on a boat to where they believe is going to be somewhere safe. So that's how the game ends. But she also loses Dina in the process. So like Dina was the big girlfriend from the beginning of the game. Throughout the game, when she goes to leave to find Abby for the last time, Dina says, "If you leave, I won't be here." And so Dina leaves, leaving her by herself. So it's I'm interested to see if she stays in Jackson, if they go with Ellie, if she stays in Jackson and it's kind of this redemption arc for her, if she leaves Jackson to kind of view the world, if they ever bring back the fact that she's immune and they find a way to be able to create a cure as part of the ending arc, that would be interesting to see. There's a lot of ways that this could play out. I'm interested to see where Neil is going to take this. He's been a fantastic writer, in my opinion, for the last 2, and director for the last 2. I think it would be interesting to see where he finishes this. If he kind of kills the world, not in a physical sense, but in like they find a cure and the world kind of gets back to normal, or if this is just a jumping point and this arc is Ellie being done and it moves on to somebody else. So it'll be interesting to see what this last bit is going to be. It's going to be interesting to see when it releases, given that season 2 of the HBO series, I think they've said they're breaking it up into 2 seasons. I'm not quite sure.
I don't know. I do know that they've like stated like the season 2's ago, and they even showed the actor for Abby, and that's been a talking point for a lot of journalists and stuff like that.
Yeah, they've got actors for most of the main character cast for the series. The ones that they haven't released are Lev's character yet. They don't have who that person's going to be. I don't know if they just don't have them or if they are they're just choosing not to release them at this time. But it's all going to be really interesting from the Last of Us series perspective, both the TV series and the game series, where both of those go and how they're done, how well they're done. Season 1 of the show, I think was very well done to the series. Was a great pieces that they brought in, some changes that they made, which I was totally okay with. But it'll be interesting to see how they treat season 2, and how all that goes.
Yeah, I only watched like I think the first 2 episodes of the show, and not for any reason of like I didn't like it, but I just didn't. I don't know. I just didn't. I need the story, so I didn't keep watching. But yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting the way they portray stuff. I'm wondering how, if any, more changes they're going to be making to season 2, and then also season on the third game if they go into another season on the show. If they're going to do something where like they're completely different iterations, maybe if like the story's going to like depart, like the show is going to take a completely different route than the game. It does that a little bit in some aspects, but
I'm almost wondering
not
if they're
fully.
just gonna blend the two stories together each episode, so like you get a little bit of Ellie moving forward and a little bit of Abby moving forward in that day.
That
Maybe
might
do
make
two
sense.
episodes per day and give yourself 6 episodes.
He's got to give us a Pulp Fiction where the story's like told in reverse.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
um, but yeah, I'm interested to see, especially because the story. And so we've had this argument before. We had it off stream, and I don't want to. I mean, we could spend 2 hours having we could spend another 2 hours having a shouting match about
It
The Last
wasn't a
of Us Part
shouting match. It was just very opinionated individuals.
But I'm interested to see, because the show hit a larger, not necessarily a larger demographic, but a different demographic a lot than the people who played the video game.
Yeah.
And it opened it up to a lot more people. And so I'm wondering if the people, the TV only audience is going to have any kind of similar reaction to the second season as the half the video game fans had towards the second game.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see for sure.
Yeah. I have been of the opinion, well, I'm like, so we've stated I'm on the side of I didn't like the second half of the game, and Cool is on the half that he likes the whole game. It's his favorite of the two. I've been of the opinion that I think the video game itself is the wrong medium for it. So I think the TV show is going to be great, and I don't think we're going to have as much of a kickback from it as we did with the video game.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, I think, yeah, and like I said, you know, we kind of touched on this. I think, in my opinion, that it's two very conflicting revenge stories. One who feels like they got kind of what they wanted, but then realized. I think for me, the fact that you play Abby and after she's killed Joel, it meant to me when I played through as her, like, because I was angry too. Like you never want to be like play the person who killed, you know, one of the, like, Joel was a great character. I'm not gonna say he wasn't a bad character. I think too many people kind of shine a golden light on him a little bit more, and that's a totally different topic. But I think she finds that like the release that she was looking for in killing Joel never comes, right? So she gets up and she's trying to find purpose. And so it's the, like, she got what she wanted, but then it didn't really relieve anything, right? Like, it doesn't, and that's kind of the big key pieces of this is like revenge never really like heals anything, right? Somebody kills somebody and then you go off and you revenge kill somebody else. Like, you're not bringing the person that they killed back. They're never coming back. But it's so it's just definitely one of those things that like it kind of spoke in that way to me, of like that being that emotional piece and how he portrays it, and the gameplay differences, and then like who she ends up meeting up with Lev, and how that all spans out, and the environments. I think this is something that you and I agreed on. I felt like the communities within the game, so the WLF and the Scars and Jackson, felt really lot more fleshed out than the Fireflies felt in game 1.
Oh yeah, I wanted to know
had
so much more about like the different faction of like the cult that was happening inside is it Seattle, right?
yes, in
Um
Seattle.
yeah, like there's like the whole like mystery in the whole first half of the game where like there's this like cult and like what's going on. We keep on hearing about her. There's like images of her, and it creates this whole like mystery, and it's really, and it really like flushes out like the city, and especially because it's focused on one city and not multiple,
Across
we get more
multiple, yeah.
time. Yeah, we get more time to like see one city and one group of people and how they're and see how this city is adapting, as opposed to, oh, we get an hour in Boston and then we get an hour over here and we get 20 minutes in Jackson and then we get
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and I think that like what I liked about the changes that they made in the combat from 1 to 2 is I felt like the combat was kind of more fluid in 2 than it was in 1. So I'm hoping that they keep that when it comes to 3, like the combat pieces of it become, you know, as fluid as before. I felt like the crafting system was very well done with what they could make of it. And then I think for me, the biggest change that I really enjoyed was they finally put the 2 enemy groups into one battle arena in some places, right? So you had like in 1, the biggest feature with 1 was like you'd have human fighters, or you'd have, you know, like scavengers or bandits, and then you'd have the infected, right? You'd
Yeah,
never have this crossover environment where both of them would be in one environment. And 2 really changed that, where they were
I
like,
think there was like
hey, we're gonna,
one or two fights where you did, but most of the time, the instant there was a sound, the humans would
everybody
start
came on you.
shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, the humans start shooting, and then the infected would be like, "Oh shit, there's some people over there," and then the infected would just overrun, and then it would just turn into an infected fight.
Right. And then
Um,
like I think the biggest key piece for me that like in the first time I played through was because I'm in this point on my second playthrough for the remaster edition, um, is the scene where you're running away from the WLF and you get into the subway, and then like the guys come into the subway, but you hear a bunch of clickers. And so like your first reaction is like, oh fuck, what am I gonna do? Like who am I gonna fight? And then
mhm.
like my instinct is like, well, I'm gonna toss a bottle right near one of the WLF members because we're in the dark, right? Nobody's gonna see anything. And then like all of a
Yeah,
sudden the clickers go nuts and they're killing like 3 or 4 of them, and you're left killing like either a clicker or a WLF member. And it was like it
yeah.
was kind of cool because it was like this pit of time of like things being really ramped up, and then you're like you get this moment of like, oh man, I can pit these two against each other because they're natural enemies of each other.
Mhm.
So I thought the game like that in that standpoint was good. So I like what they've done with the engine. I think that they just continue with that piece of it. I'm interested to see what the story's about, who they end up following. I think iconically you have to follow Ellie, right? I think the game wouldn't be a Last of Us game if Ellie's not in it. And
I
I think
am
that just wraps
actually
the game.
I'm actually of the like I would have been fine with Last of Us 2 had it been completely new people. And I feel like Last of Us 3 as well, if it was just another group of survivors in a completely other section of the of maybe not even America, maybe we're going to Europe, we're going to Africa, we're going to China, right?
Yeah.
Throw a new set of survivors anywhere, and I think if you can, I mean, you can, it isn't necessarily, well, yes, Ellie has been the main focus. I feel like the world is the thing that people associate The Last of Us with the most,
Mm,
right? Those mushroom, the spores infected, and how beautiful the world is, and then a deep story that's about like kind of the human condition, and not no one's really a good person, right?
right.
In the story, and I feel like you can tell that story no matter, like, you don't need to stick with the same person. You can create new people, and I feel like you'll pull an audience no matter what.
Yeah. I think the fun part is like seeing bits of pop culture in some of these games and then being like, okay, does that actually fit the narrative of the like of the real timeline? So um like the song that Joel sings at the very beginning, they were very careful on the song that they picked for this. So the song that they had at the very beginning of season of episode 2 or of the second game that he plays, Better Days, is a song that actually released like 3 weeks before the game's pandemic date is. So in theory, it would have been one you could have heard on the radio for the first few for those few weeks. So it's like that kind of stuff that like they take the time, like they're taking the time to ensure that like nothing isn't there that shouldn't be there, right? There's no like break in like, hey, Facebook was here. Does Facebook fit that timeline of times of the, you know, when it would actually have been released or out? And it does. Like it comes out like 6 months before, so it's on subways and, you know, and stuff like that. So like in the first game, and you know, so it's cool to see stuff like that where they're really paying attention to detail, and you like to see your game companies do that, where it's not like, well, that's a break because that doesn't make any sense that would be there. It's not, doesn't exist before the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm interested to see where Neil takes this. I've you know, I've trusted him for 2 games so far, and he's hasn't steered me wrong yet. My opinion, he hasn't steered me wrong yet. I thought that his this series has been very, very good so far. But yeah. So I think we're kind of wrapping to the end, right? No, you have one more. You have one
I
more
have one more thing. So this is another interesting. So this is old. This is about a month old. But so one topic that's been going on for a couple of years now in and this is about China, so I'm gonna say that right now. The topic that's been going on in the West a lot is about like loot boxes in video games, and do they promote gambling? Should they be rated R to prevent children from being able to use loot boxes and credit cards? Are we promoting bad habits and creating a pandemic for these Gen Z and what's the newest one? Whatever, like all these young children, when they grow up, are we growing degenerate
Xennials?
gamblers going up? Xennials, yeah, I think, yeah. No, Xennial is Gen Z and millennial combo.
Yeah,
Like
okay,
when you're like right in between. Like I'm a Xennial. I'm a Zen. No, it's Gen Alpha, I think.
Okay.
Is it Gen Alpha? I think it's Gen Alpha. But that's been yeah, it's Gen Alpha. That's been a topic for a while now, as well as a couple other things like microtransactions in video games. Like, are these predatory things like Diablo Immortal, Diablo 4 a little bit, Destiny 2? How bad are these games and like their predatory actions with the way they're trying to generate their money? It's been a conversation, and that's not really the conversation here. But China released a proposal on on one of their websites that like lists like hey, here's potential laws that we're going to release, and the instant they put it up, the national press, the website is the National Press and Publication Administration. The agency it's an agency they post like potential proposals for laws, and the pretty much the instant they put this up, they lost, the stock market dipped. I think it was $8 billion or somewhere around there. Tencent, the one of the video gaming giants, and NetEase, Tencent lost 3.7%, and NetEase lost more than 6% of the overall market. And these companies own lots of video games. So it was a large hit to the stock market almost immediately. So everyone in the West, a lot of people were like, "Yeah, this is awesome, a victory for video games." This is coming right off of Apple getting hit by Europe on all of their anti-consumerist actions, and then all of a sudden we're getting China hitting anti-consumer actions. We're super excited. China immediately pulled off. I think it was about a week later. They pulled the listing from the website and have said that they are going to be making some changes to it. After mostly what happened is there was some criticism because of the pandemic already causing a lot of problems to their economy. And then they announced this, and then all of a sudden there's a huge stock market dip. It was mostly a lot of people being like, "Yo, why are you like hurting another sector?" But it would the bill would have imposed spending limits on video game platforms and prohibiting minors from tipping video game live streamers, as well as like Twitch. A popular for fans, yeah.
Okay.
So not necessarily Twitch, but I think Bilibili mostly, which is like Chinese YouTube.
Okay.
And the spending limit wasn't on like the spending limit of video games. It was how much we could like the microtransaction could be. Right? How much
okay.
how much can the developer needs to set up a spending limit that like users can have to limit stuff like that. And then they, while walking this back, they then, I'm trying to look at the actual number, as you know, like China has some strict rules about like what can go into the country. I mean, every country does a little to some degree, but they have strict rules on like what is allowed to be what video games can enter into their circulation there. And they immediately released, I think it was over 100 video games, and like, hey, yeah, we're actually gonna get a little bit more relaxed on censorship of video games and what we allow into the economy. Which
That's
is a really interesting thing.
That's
yeah.
really like a 180 turn with China, because there have always been kind of pretty like, I don't care what you think, we're gonna do this way. But
yeah, I mean, this is them, the government going back because the Chinese people specifically were being affected, and it was their actions. It wasn't necessarily outsider actions.
Yeah.
But them releasing a lot of video games at the same time and like allowing more video games into the market is an interesting turnaround. That is a complete 180, as opposed to like backpedaling and saying, hey, we'll redraft that. Let's think about it for a little bit and like make some adjustments.
Yeah. You think?
Oh yeah, it would have also barred offering rewards for frequent logins.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
oh,
so you
like,
know, so
like when you log in for the day, you get a reward, and then you get another reward. Like there's a chain reward.
So this was specifically targeting things like Genshin Impact, mobile games that are like, hey, or like Farmville kind of thing. Hey, log in every day, get your energy, get your thing, get this.
I feel like that's just like a staple of a lot of these
buy
like,
energy
big games.
Yeah, but that's the kind of thing that they're going after, because that's it. It is at the end. I mean, I guess this is a topic that we could discuss for a little while, if you wanted to. Is the predatory actions of video games and microtransactions, and loot boxes, and those types of things, and addictive marketing for free to play.
Yeah, I mean, here's my stance, right? Get your paper, right? Get whatever money you want to get out of a game. My hard stance is, if you pay $60 for a game, there should be 0 pay to play in that game.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to run a free to play model, run a free to play model. I don't want a Diablo situation, right? $60 for Diablo 4, and then anything reasonably cool in that game becomes a $50 loot box purchase, which is fucking bullshit in my opinion.
What about $100? What about $100 DLC? Come on.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Like, I'm okay with paying for like season passes and stuff like that for like DLCs. Like, it shouldn't exceed the cost of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where I'm at. Like, right, it gets too, like, it's too much money. Like, and Alana Pierce did a bit on this a while ago, where it's like, if we really want to do something about microtransactions, we have to stop buying them.
Yeah.
And like, if you don't like or want microtransactions, we have to stop buying them. Like, you can't keep buying in on these things, even as cool as they look. Like the more you buy in, the more the developers go, oh nope, they really want these microtransactions.
But
Like they're
horse
okay
armor.
with spending this money. Like you want it to go away, you have to stop buying it. And that's kind of the big deal.
But
So
I need my
I'm
horse
okay
armor.
with the free to play, and like, you know, like, okay, I'm gonna divert a little bit because the topic is related. So last week, if you guys weren't aware, for those in the US, the 4 major CEOs of social media platforms met with Congress, and a slew of parents who were upset about that their children were being uh harmed in a way, like they were being exploited on their platforms. Okay, here's my rule number 1. You are in control of your child's internet access. As a parent, you have to be the one in control, right? So like, as long as I have ways of blocking my children from buying, and this is where I'm full circling, as long as I have ways of blocking my children from getting into the microtransaction bullshit, like, do what you want to do. People want to spend their money the way they want to spend it. That's fine. That is how it is. But at the end of the day, it is the parents' responsibility to take responsibility for their children and what they have access to from on the internet. 100% every day, all day. The mother, I'm sorry, but the mother who was upset that her 11-year-old was sexualized on Snapchat, what 11-year-old needs Snapchat? Like what? What are they doing on Snapchat that they need Snapchat at 11? They aren't even supposed to be on the platform at 11. It's a 13-year-old requirement minimum.
Mhm.
So it's like, and even I think that's too low. Like 13 is too low for social media.
There's been, I think it was Florida is one of the southern states actually is pushing a bill to make, I think, 16 the minimum age for social media, and I think they're talking about making it. I think they're talking about making it 18 for social media, except for something that is specifically like YouTube Kids, and limiting interaction, comments and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Majorly on them.
And actually, that was one of the things that they had talked about with TikTok, was that the 16 to 18-year-olds don't have interaction capabilities. Like they're set to a specific set of content that they can see that's been pre-approved to be seen by that age level. Mm-hmm. And you can't comment. You can't read comments. You can't leave comments. You can't DM. You can't, like, none of that.
So while
parents who are taking the time to take care of that,
I completely agree with you. Parents have to parent, right? You are in, like, you can't say like, oh my God, how dare these things exist? And my child is in all these things and doing all these things and blame other people. You have to take some responsibility. At the same time, taking some responsibility is going towards your government and trying to create limit the actions of outside sources that have effects on your children. And the best example of this is cigarette companies not being allowed to advertise for children.
Yep.
Removing candied flavored cigarettes, stuff like that, right?
Candy flavored vapes, candy flavored cigarettes.
So going towards your governments to push actions and some legislature to limit predatory actions from these companies, especially for the young generation, is good, and at the same time, 100%, it's not the end all be all. You have to parent.
Right. And some of these, so here's my other gripe, right? A lot of these companies have good, like, child proofing, but the parents never set it up. They never take the time to set it up. Like, you have all the power. Like, as somebody who's used to sell cell phones and works in the IT realm, you have so much power as a parent to restrict your kids from doing what you don't want them to do. It's going to cost you a little bit of money, but if you really truly care about the safety of your children on the internet, do it. Like, seriously, do it. It's like, like, no amount of money should keep you from keeping your children safe on the internet. They're children. They don't need to be subjected to things like our parents did the best they could on a technology they had no idea how to deal with, right? Yeah. We grew up on this stuff.
At the end of the day, you also have to set some, and this comes to the parents have to parent. Kids are going to get into what they're not supposed to get into.
Right.
At the end of the day, kids had like, hey, come in here. Jimmy gave me, I paid Jimmy $2 because he got this from, he stole this from his dad, and he pulls out from underneath the bed and he's got a nudie mag, right? Back in like the 80s and 90s, that was the thing, right? And then early 2000s internet boom, then it was hey, here, go look at this link when no one's around.
Right.
Obviously,
I remember in high school we did the website proxies to get through the school's web filter.
Oh yeah, I'm
and then they figured it out.
Yeah. Well, even still, there's tons of ways to get around it, and there's always going to be it's that the more you make things more secure, the more people find ways to get around it, and it's always an arms race, and teenagers are no different, especially because as literacy goes up in any kind of technology, the younger we start teaching that literacy, which means their literacy goes up. So they're not exempt from being able to just outsmart us at the end of the day. They have more time.
100%.
We have to go to work. They sit there
100%.
listening to, instead of listening to the teacher say 2 + 2, they're sitting there thinking about how to get around us.
Absolutely. If they're not, they should be. So the rule, I had a friend of mine that I work with whose rule is that they have things set a specific way. If a child can bypass it, they get it for that day, and then it gets locked down. That is the rule I'm going to live by. I'm going to lock it down the best that I think I can, and then if the children get around it, I'm gonna give it to them for the day. They're gonna have it for that day, as long as it's not like detrimental to them, like porn or something like that.
Yeah.
My kids are like 10, right? My oldest is 10, so it's like, as long as it's not like porn, that I'm like, okay, like you can have this for the rest of the day. But like,
yeah, do band waves so they don't know how they got caught.
Yeah. But it's like, you know, like you have to do the best you can as a parent. Like if you truly care about your children and what they're consuming from a media perspective, there's a million ways to do it. If you don't know how to do it, feel free. My DMs are wide open. My Discord is in the bottom of my Twitch channel. Join the Discord, send me a DM. I will walk you through everything that I have done to set up on my side. So it's, you know, I promise that to everybody. It's like anybody who wants to do that stuff, you know, feel free. But it's, you know, it's important that we take care of our children. I know this kind of diverted off a little bit, but you know, censorship in China and keeping your kids safe is pretty
well, I mean that's what the bill was for. It was for protection of children. Was what it entirely was. The relax on the censorship was just a side note that happened afterwards.
Yeah.
The whole thing was a bill, and it's a bill that a lot of people have been pushing to try and have something similar happen in America, in the West. They want, because like I think even Britain or sorry, the UK also outlawed loot boxes, didn't they? Or there was something about them talking about doing it, and that kind of thing has been talked about in America too. And I'm on the side of, yeah, get rid of loot boxes.
Right. So, but with that, we are gonna kind of wrap up here. Bard, what have you been playing the last little bit?
Power World, and
choose your answers very carefully because Joy's still in the chat.
I have been playing some Persona 3, or sorry, not Persona 3, Persona 4 off stream a little bit. I'm trying to grind a little bit so I could just sit here on stream and grind, but most of what I've been doing right now is Power World, to get a break from raiding in Final Fantasy. And raiding a lot in Final Fantasy is what I've been doing. Once I clear P12, I'm going to be taking a Final Fantasy break.
Well, all of your clears for 12, not just your clear. We have to get re-clears.
Yeah, I got to get some people through. But I mean, I can also just relax on me progging solo kind of thing as well on 12.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once I get through 12, I can start focusing on some other games that I have in my catalog to tackle. Like Persona, like Armored Core.
Persona.
I still haven't beat Baldur's Gate 3. I'm in Act 2, I think. So a lot to
And
do.
then the last week I've been playing, our Wednesdays has been Last of Us 2. I've done a little bit of offline Golden Sun. That game is still so good. If you've never played, please do. We talked about it last week in last week's episode. If you've never played Golden Sun, please take the time to do so. It is probably one of the best Game Boy Advance games ever. And that's subjective, obviously, but this week I actually Bart and I were talking about this before a stream. I actually think I'm going to take maybe 1 or 2 weeks off of my personal streaming, other than for podcast streaming on Mondays. I'm about to jump into, and I'm okay with talking about this. This is, mental health is important, and we should be talking about it. Both men's and women's mental health is very important. I'm going to be switching up some of my mental health meds and getting onto some that I should have been on a while ago. So they're gonna take a couple weeks to kind of get myself balanced on that before I get back into streaming again and see where I'm at. But yeah, please, if you this is another PSA, at least from me, is if you're struggling with mental health, please feel free to reach out either to me or to somebody professional. I can give you resources of who to reach out to, or things that you can do. But I mean, please don't sit there and struggle on your own. Mental health is real. It's very important to take care of, and sometimes you just need a break. So I'm gonna take a break from regular streaming this week. Maybe next week. I don't know yet. I haven't really decided. I feel it kind of really matters like how I feel at the end of the week when I start these new meds. So we'll see. You'll still see me. So like Bard's gonna stream Tuesdays, Thursdays raid, and our Sunday raid. So you'll still see me on his stream for those days. But I will be taking a break from my channel being active for a week or so. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're gonna leave off. As always, this is Monday night podcast night. We do not raid out on podcast nights. So we will leave you with our thoughts. Have a great week, guys. Be good to each other, be nice, have good to yourself, and drink lots of water, because that's really important.
Yeah. See you guys around.
Take it easy.
Bye.